can't thank you enough for inviting me out here. I can't thank everybody in this room enough for actually coming out on cold nights like this, hot nights in the summer, trying to do what you can to preserve liberty and try and shake some sense into the government that stopped listening to us. Let me get right to the chase. I think Cory Booker is a poor representative of the desires, the needs, the ambitions, the lifestyle, the character of the people of the state of New Jersey. I also think that every minute that Cory Booker stays in Washington, D.C. as United States Senator is a waste of our money as taxpayers, a waste of our time as citizens, and a waste of our nation's time as one of the greatest nations on earth. For that reason, I'm seeking office. And I could probably find in the state of New Jersey thousands of people that would agree with me just on that one point. My problem is that's not enough to win an election. We've seen Steve Lonegan do a great job of explaining just exactly how bad Cory Booker would be in elected office. Steve did a sensational job rallying the state and making everybody aware that the guy was all hat and no cattle. And he went around the state, he pushed up Cory Booker's negatives, but what he didn't do, he didn't have time to do, was make an effective case why he should be a United States Senator. Came close. We've got a little more time. So what I think I need to do is back up a little bit and make my case why I think I should be a United States Senator to you and to people all over the state. So a quick bio. I was born in the Bronx. When I was 5, my parents moved us into New Jersey. I was educated in New Milford, New Jersey. I was fortunate enough to go to New York Military Academy in Cornwall, New York. I actually asked my parents if I could go away to private school. I loved summer camp so much. I loved being out and about. I asked my parents if they would send me to this school that I saw in the back of Boy's Life. And we went to the school, and I saw kids raking leaves. I thought, well, my mom makes me rake leaves. I know what that's all about. Is that what kids do? Fine. I signed up for military school. Best 4 years of my life. It actually put me on a path to get a full scholarship to Cornell University. When I graduated Cornell with my ROTC scholarship, I went in the Army for 20 years. I served in the reserves. I also served plenty of time on active duty, earned the rank of major. And then I got married to my wife. We live in Freehold, New Jersey. My father gave me some great advice. I don't always take my dad's advice. This time he did. He said, Rich, if you want to be happy, move near your mother-in-law. So she lives a mile away, and I have to say it was the best advice, other than go to Cornell, that my father ever gave me. So yeah, that's turned out really well, because by living down here, I got a chance to see a piece of New Jersey that I didn't even know existed, being up in Bergen County. So as I was getting ready to marry my wife, she was living in Freehold, I was living in New Milford. It was $1 for tolls to get down, $1 to get home, and the Highway Authority was about to double that to $2. They were going to double the tolls. I wasn't going to stand for that. They were having public meetings. I went to public meetings, and I said, this is a bad idea, and here's why. So I said my piece, but more importantly, what I learned at these public meetings, where all these elected officials from all over New Jersey were standing up and pontificating this and that and the other thing, they didn't know what they were talking about. Here were people that were running towns, running counties, elected officials, north and south, east and west, coming up there. The most dangerous place in this state is between an elected official and a camera. And they were saying stuff that made absolutely no sense. I didn't think that was right, because I actually did my research. I actually audited the New Jersey Highway Authority. I found out why they needed the money, how they collected it, what they were going to do. I learned more about road building. In fact, I spent so much time at the Highway Authority, they offered me a job. But more importantly, I realized that most of the time what you hear from elected officials is pablum. They don't know what they're talking about. When I debated Frank Lautenberg on the issues of the GATT Treaty, he said, well, I'm halfway through reading it, and if it really gets bad, we're going to get you out of it. It's not a bad thing. no, it really was a bad thing to sign our sovereignty away to an unelected group of bureaucrats on the other side of the ocean, and put ourselves in a position where we can get fined if we don't want to buy gas from Venezuela because it pollutes our air.
Could you tell us what GATT?
Oh, sorry, GATT, excuse me. Sure. Okay, the General Agreement of Tariffs and Trades put the United States into the World Trade Organization. So basically it was a treaty which supersedes constitutional rights. It was a treaty that made the United States, for trade purposes, subservient to the World Trade Organization. But what we're seeing happen in international trade is the same thing that we've seen happen in interstate trade. The governing body uses their right to regulate trade to actually force social change. That happens in New Jersey and in the United States as well. Obamacare is somehow in the Commerce Clause of the Constitution, where they say we can use our right to regulate commerce. And that's how they were roping us into Obamacare. I can come back to that in a minute. But at any rate, that's what the General Agreement of Tariffs and Trades was. It was giving away our sovereignty to an unelected group of judges and bureaucrats that don't always look out for our best interests. NAFTA was the North American Free Trade Agreement, which was opening up the borders to make it easier for all of our jobs and factories to move south of the border to Mexico. The factories went down there. The sub-assemblies for the automobiles are now manufactured somewhere else with cheaper labor, and they're just kind of bolted together so that cars can be said they're made in America. But all the sub-assemblies come from everywhere else. At any rate, this particular piece of legislation, the phone traffic was running 100-to-1 against in the United States Senate. Frank Lautenberg, the guy I was running against, didn't even know what was in the legislation, and he just blindly voted for it. Does this sound familiar? Does this sound like what our elected officials do? When you see elected officials say things like, we have to vote for it so that we can find out, we have to pass it, excuse me, so we can find out what's in it. In any other profession, that would be considered malpractice. And these are the people we're supposed to respect? No, they're not doing their jobs. You can't inflict a law on somebody and not know what's in it. That's the height of evil, to do that. You will be subject to this law. And all these people will be gone, and the law will still be there. And that's what's really bad about the way our elected officials have been working in Congress. So I got involved in politics at that point. I got involved with the Conservative Party. I was conservative before it was cool. The Conservative Party ran candidates in the 90s. I was fortunate enough to be their candidate for United States Senator twice. I was their candidate for governor in 1997. Maybe some of you voted for a third-party candidate, and I was the beneficiary of your votes. I always ran on a platform of making people do their jobs. I mean, we're from Jersey. We expect if you give a guy a day's pay, you're supposed to get a day's work out of it, right? If we send these guys to Washington, they're supposed to do that. Well, they're from the political class, and they have this thing called the no-show job, and they think they've got the ultimate no-show job. And I have some real heartburn with that. I think if you're going to go to Washington, D.C. to serve the public, you should serve the public. In my case, if you look at my background, you'll see that I was an EMT. I was on ambulance corps. I've been in the United States military. I work with the Boy Scouts. I work with the Knights of Columbus. I work with the Chamber of Commerce. Community service is kind of in my DNA. It's just what I do. It's how I was raised. It's how my kids were raised. And that's how the job has to be done when you get up to Washington, D.C. Because right now, what's happening in Washington isn't helping any of us. In my job right now, I work with computers. My job in the Army would be I'd go into an agency and say, hi, I'm Major Pezzullo. I'm here to help. Show me what your computer assets are, and I'll help you use them to do your mission. My computer consulting company is, hi, I'm Rich Pezzullo. Let's see what you're trying to get done here, what business problems we can solve. Don't have to buy new stuff, I don't think. Let's see what you have, and let's try and do what we need to do with what you have available. And then if you need to buy some more stuff, let's buy the right stuff to do the job to get your business done. And I work in law firms. I work in accounting agencies. I work in barber shops. I work in beauty parlors. I work in dermatology clinics. I work in body shops. You get the idea here? You name the business. It could be a nonprofit that I work with. I work with a lot of charities all over the state. I help them solve business problems. And what I've seen is that the biggest problem that they're trying to solve right now is how to deal with oppressive regulation. Our government has enabled the bureaucrats to write regulations that have the force of law. And that is making trying to run your business, educate your kids, buy the toilet you want, buy the light bulb that you want, they're making that impossible to do. The federal government is in your house in every corner. They're at your gas station, they're in your restaurants, they're in your kids' schools, telling the teachers what they can teach, what they can't teach. I mean, I don't understand, for the life of me, how a teacher can continually let their union support the party that puts a yoke around their neck. The question I have for teachers is, what would make you a better teacher? More money or more freedom? And the teachers say freedom to teach kids the way I've trained to teach, the way I know I need to teach. That's what teachers will tell you, but somehow their union continues to support the party that puts the yoke around their neck and keeps stuffing more and more regulation down them. And that's been affecting the quality of the education that we're being able to get from our education system. It's just horrendous. That's why people leave from it. Is there anybody that believes that our businesses run better because of regulations from the federal EPA? No. Is there anybody that believes that our teachers teach better with all the regulations from the Federal Department of Education? No, right? Is there anybody that believes that Obamacare is going to make health care more affordable or better service for you? No. Is there anybody that thinks that business activity is enhanced by forcing banks to hold trillions of dollars on reserve instead of billions of dollars on reserve? No. Our monetary policy is run by regulators. Our education policy is run by regulators. Our food system is run by regulators. Everything you breathe, touch, or think about is regulated and overregulated. And that's what I see as I work with the business owners trying to serve the public, take care of people, help needy people. They're all at war defending themselves from the constant attacks of the government. And it's not getting easier, it's getting worse. That's why I want to go to Washington. Because I don't need a lobbyist to tell me what the effect of regulations are. I've seen it with my own two eyes. And unlike a lobbyist, I can go eyeball to eyeball with a United States Senator and explain to him the damage that he's doing by allowing poorly crafted, improper, unconstitutional, horrible legislation to be inflicted on the people of this country. And as the United States Senator from New Jersey, I need to be saying things like, the people of New Jersey should not be subjected to the outrageous consequences of this piece of legislation, and you fill in the blanks. When was the last time you heard a senator stand up in defense of his state and say, this is bad for the people of New Jersey. We need to stop this. They don't. Cory Booker, for instance, is a rubber stamp for his party. We have not had an effective senator from New Jersey in decades. We've had rubber stamps for the Democrat machine, who see New Jersey as the feeding trough for every feel-good politician who wants to make a deal and solve the problems of America. The war on poverty, the Great Society, was paid for by New Jersey taxpayers. Our money spread all over the country. Every time you hear somebody say, we need to spend more money to, and then you fill in the blanks. Every time you hear that, what they're saying is, let's go to New Jersey, take some more of their money, and give it away. We get no respect. And as New Jerseyans, we should be pretty upset about that. We suffer the longest work days, the most horrible commutes, sometimes some pretty rough weather, to make the money that gets sent down to Washington to be squandered by the politicians who don't listen to us and don't even listen to their own constituents. They just spend it the way they want to. So that's why I have to make a case that as a United States Senator from New Jersey, I can get in front of the senators, get with them, and explain to them the damage that we're doing. Stand with senators like Ted Cruz, who are willing to stand up and take a principled stand and say, we have a very simple function here in the United States Senate. We're here to represent the states as equals. Now the House of Representatives, because they run by I didn't mean to turn this into a civics lesson, but because they're run by populations, they can come up with ideas that sound great by a majority, which could just be the two coasts. The idea of federalism is that when that legislation gets to the Senate, well, each state has an equal say. And you guys in California might think this is a really great idea, but those of us in New Jersey think it's bad for us. And the people in Rhode Island can say, hey, we think this is a bad idea too. We need to get our government thinking and acting like that again. And we do that by sending people to Washington, D.C. that don't have to study that in a book. I don't know how our president, who claims to be a constitutional lawyer, but thinks that Savannah is in the Gulf of Mexico,
Yeah.
and he thinks there's 57, he did say that. Yes, he did. Thinks there's 57 states. See, he makes gaffes that astonish some people, but you have to understand he didn't get his primary education in the United States. During his formative years, where most of us learned those things, he was off in Indonesia, getting a good, responsible education, but not an American education. So inside his DNA, what he knows in his base, without having to go to a book or ask somebody to look it up, is different. Our kids know there's 50 states. They've come up knowing that. I digress, though. What I want to be able to do is go to the Senate and explain that New Jersey is tired of being treated like the wallet for the rest of the country. We're getting tired of not having our voices heard. We're getting tired of getting our businesses overregulated so that we can't even function in this state. That has to stop. And it has to stop from the floor of the Senate. We need to dismantle the regulatory authorities that are doing this to us. Is there anybody that thinks the federal EPA is doing a better job than what our EPA can do right here in Trenton? Because that's close to us. They understand in Trenton. We don't need Washington managing our air. We can do that pretty well here. Do you think that somebody in Washington, D.C. can do a better job than a local school board? We spend a lot of money for very highly qualified teachers and administrators in our schools. Why do I need some faceless bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. to be telling them how to operate? Now you understand the argument, the fight, the passion that I'm bringing to this exercise where I'm trying to get the Republican Party to nominate me. So I have to go to groups like this and ask for you to help me out. Help me get on the ballot. Sign my petition, tell your friends, send people to the website. Yes, sir.
What party are you with now, Richard?
Excuse me, what party?
Republican Party?
I'm a Republican. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I'm a Republican. Yes.
I saw you with the Conservative Party before.
Yes, I was. I was in the
Okay.
Conservative Party. I was in the Conservative Party because the Republican Party didn't want... Conservatives need not apply.
Yes, exactly.
I know that.
In the 1990s, conservative, get out of here. Major, yes, so what?
By the way,
Yes,
Cory Booker indicated that they may want to run for president in 2016.
I'm trying very hard to stay focused on getting J.Pezzullo, a representative of New Jersey, a full-throated conservative representative of New Jersey in the United States Senate. There's a lot of other races I could talk about. There's a lot of other issues I could address. But what happens is guys get up in positions like this and they think they're Pericles. They can solve all the world's problems just with their oratory. A United States Senator has a very specific job. He represents the interests of the state in a co-equal body that's half of the legislature. That's his job. So when they come up to you and tell you how they're going to solve the problems of the world, Well, right then and there, they're not doing their job. The job of a United States Senator is to secure the blessings of liberty onto the people and their descendants. That's their job. Onto their children is their responsibility. Onto their posterity. That's in the Constitution that they swear to defend. That's your whole job, really. And so, basically, when you go to the Senate, you're supposed to say, look, I'm going to preserve the blessings of liberty for New Jersey, which means New Jersey needs to solve New Jersey's problems. We should not be setting up an entire federal bureaucracy to reach out and solve New Jersey's problems. The regulations are overwhelming, and we need to get the government focused on taking them away. It's criminal what we've done to our children. When I was a kid, the generation that came before me said, we're going to put a man on the moon, and they did. Generation before that had to save the world for democracy. Somewhere in between, an interstate highway system was built. Every generation has had an opportunity to have a vision and then go for something and make something happen. When our children come up, they don't get to pick anything. There's nothing they can do because they just have to pay the bills we incurred and those that came before us incurred. And that's absolutely, positively not fair. It really isn't. And I bring that to the Senate because everything has to be done with an eye towards them. And more on that in a second. So, we got the media fighting against us as we try and fight this fight. The media is not going to talk about this, like you won't find a conservative candidate running in New Jersey. As far as the media is concerned, there's no candidate for United States Senate in New Jersey. Who's going to run? Who's the party going to pick? There's guys like me, well actually there's me, out here making a case to the people. And the media will try and push us off. With all the problems going on in the world, it's all about a traffic jam in Fort Lee. That's the big news story. Justin Bieber, right? That's the big story. Now we've got special prosecutors. We have to have justice. We have to get the Christie administration looked at. We need justice for this horrible crime of putting orange cones on the George Washington Bridge. How about some justice for the people killed in Benghazi? How about some justice for the Border Patrol agents killed by automatic weapons, walked into Mexico by the Justice Department that is supposed to be protecting us? Where's that justice? We're seeing the media pick where we're supposed to look. You look here, don't look there. Look over here, look over there. We're living in monumental times. What you're seeing happen before your eyes is a change in American society that none of us have seen before. And we're watching it happen, and it's happening because the forces that seek to do this, to take down the country, are good at slicing and dicing us. They're making us fight between each other. And like Lincoln said, a house divided cannot stand. So, let me touch on the social issues for a second. Some of us are pro-life. Some of us support a woman's right to choose. Some of us are proud defenders of the Second Amendment. Some of us think we need to really control the flow of weapons around the country. Some of us think marriage equality is an idea whose time has come. Some of us would like to keep that idea away from our churches, away from our children, away from our families, and away from our society. Some of us support the death penalty. Some of us don't support it because they don't trust the government to adequately pass it around and implement it. So, just with those four things I gave you, there's some people agree one way, some people agree another. There's a yes-no. Now, what I learned in statistics, if you got 4 items, each with an A or B, and you figure out the permutations, that's 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. That's 24. So as I look around this room, as I went through that little list, sometimes I see quiet nods, sometimes I see little shakes. If I went through this room, I can't find any two people that are rock solid because there's 24 combinations on all those issues. And that's what they're counting on. Because a house divided cannot stand. And Lincoln went on to say in that speech, it was a Senate speech by the way, he went on to say, and I agree with him, I don't think it will fall. It will not fall. But it will become all one thing or all the other. So let's put all of those issues to the side, because the thing is whether the federal government will regulate and control and decide how much to give whom and take from those who have and give to those to whom it chooses. There are those in the government, and then there are those that believe that what makes America exceptional is the fact that after 5,000 years, freedom for individuals, respect for individual property rights, respect for individuals to solve their own problems, opportunity is the key to success. Opportunity is the key to raising your family and giving security. Opportunity is the key to security, not enslavement, not the yoke. That's the difference. All that stuff isn't. What it is, they're going to control and oppress and regulate and tax. We're going to let people thrive with the tools our children have at their disposal. If we set them free to explore, to innovate, to find new ways of doing commerce, to find new ways of doing communication, to find new ways of improving their situations, we can't hope to imagine, and the regulators couldn't begin to imagine, what they could do if we set them free. So that is what the division is. However, if they keep us fighting over here on all of these issues, they're never, ever, ever going to stop us. They're never going to let us stop that march. Did I make that point? Okay. Now, when I walk into a room, though, I say, let's all agree on some things. I think that every person, everyone, has an inalienable right to live in peace with whom they choose, how they choose, for as long as they choose, without harming their neighbor. And if you don't harm anyone else, you should be confident in the fact that no politician, no government is going to strip you of your rights. And I think if I go around the room, regardless of where anyone is on these particular social issues, we can get some agreement. Because when you get into the nitty-gritty, everybody has a different gradient on all of those. And by keeping us fighting among ourselves on those issues, we forget the important fight that has to be fought, which is the fight for liberty for the people in this country. So my mission is to bring that around the state and see if I can't unite the Republican Party to say, yes, it's about time we had a senator that understands the job, that wants to do the job, and wants to do the job for the betterment of New Jersey. So I unite the Republican Party, and then, together, as a united party, we can bring this message out, and I can walk into a room full of teachers who don't normally like Republicans, with the message I shared with you tonight, not have to change a word, and still hold my head high, because these are the things I've been saying for 20 years. Finally, there are people, more people, that are interested in hearing them. The key to success is, and prosperity is through liberty, not through regulation. That's the mission I have to do. That's the word that I have to get out. So, if you agree with me that people have a right to their own opinion, then thank you for letting me share mine, and I'll respect yours, whatever it is. If you agree with me that a house divided cannot stand, then stand with me as I try and unite the party to give somebody who has a chance and has the right ideas into Washington, D.C. Stand with me as we do that. Because we need to get working now. We don't have a lot of time in this year. After this election, if the Republicans gain control of the Senate, then finally the representatives will be totally able to keep the executive in check, which is what's supposed to happen. That's what we're watching right now. So we need to win the Senate, win a majority in the Senate of right-thinking Republicans. That's important. People that understand the concept of liberty. We don't need Democrat light.
No.
Okay, that's not going to help the country. That might help the ruling class, but it's not going to help the country. So we don't need Democrat light. What we need is right-thinking Republicans. And it's important that we do that because we have a responsibility. We did not inherit this country from our parents. We're borrowing it from our children. And we owe it to our parents to live up to the example they set and give it back to them, our children, better than we found it. And if you work with me, that's my objective and that's what I need your help doing. Thank you very much.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, sir.
We'll keep it short.
Go ahead.
Yeah, excuse me, you know, it all sounds very good, but when it boils down to is, you have one vote in the Senate, you're 1 in 100.
That's correct.
You can talk to all the senators you want and try and convince them. Last night, at the speech by the Messiah, he said that if I have to, I'll go around you, and all the Democrats got up and said, yay. Who are you talking to? You're tilting at windmills.
But that doesn't mean, you see, in order to achieve victory, you have to seek it.
That's right.
No, that's very good, I understand that, but what it comes down to is you have one vote.
So should I just sit down?
No, that's great, but, you know, it sounds terrific,
Right.
but, you know, you're not gonna save the world. What else can you do besides talk to other people, besides the one vote?
Well, first of all, okay, a couple of things. First of all, administratively, in the Senate, I have only my one vote.
Right.
But what has happened in the bureaucracy is that there is no advocate, there's no lobbyist for New Jersey. There's nobody out there. There's more people representing Mexico in Washington, D.C. than there are the state of New Jersey. And that's a sad fact. There's more people working on behalf of Mexico in every bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. than there are for the state of New Jersey. Because really the only people up there representing the state of New Jersey are your senators. And your congressmen are maybe working for you. But the job of a United States Senator, what can I do when the phone rings that there's an issue that has gotten the attention of the state of New Jersey, where the federal government and federal regulations are causing problems? Through the office of your senator, you can bring a lot of heat to the regulator and make it important to the bureaucrat that's causing your particular problem. Now, we can't, with a phone call, eliminate Obamacare. But for some reason, when there was a little girl looking for a lawn, I didn't hear any U.S. senators saying, "What the heck is this, Secretary Sebelius? Where was her representation?" That can't happen. So when you send a representative to Washington, D.C., you want to send somebody who's going to be an advocate. Now, alone, I can't make any changes. But I'm not one voice. I'm not one voice. Is Ted Cruz a voice? I think he is. I think he has a pretty powerful voice. There's other senators that will stand as well. And as they come together, the bond will grow stronger and stronger and they'll be heard. But you have to start somewhere. I mean, I'm just one guy with $3.75 in my pocket, and I'm out here going door to door in the state of New Jersey asking people to please get behind me, get behind what we're trying to do, because I got a little secret for you. I'm not Chris Christie.
Thank God.
I mean, I don't have his stature, I don't have his money, I don't have his political connections, I don't have his power, I don't have anything Chris Christie has. Chris Christie has a dynamic personality. He has a charismatic presence. He won a magnificent victory that he worked very hard for in this state. He did a wonderful job. He was magnificent in electioneering. And I salute him for that. I am not him. So what do? There is no other Chris Christie. Rich Pezzullo is not a Chris Christie. So I say, instead of trying to get this guy elected, how about we get the idea, this message that we were just talking about, which is the idea that freedom and opportunity is the key to success, and regulation is the road to ruination. If we can get behind that idea, and we all agree with it, that can be bigger, that can be stronger, that can be more powerful. And if everybody agrees that, and we keep our mission simple, which is to get New Jersey adequately represented in the Senate, people in Pennsylvania might get the idea. There's people already trying to circumvent the elected officials to get common sense amendments placed in the Constitution. How about that? There's actually something, everybody's aware of this, right? They're called Article 5 amendments, where the states can actually get together, agree on the language of an amendment to the Constitution. You don't need it. Because when somebody says that to a senator, we need this amendment to the Constitution, they vote against it. When a senator votes against an amendment to the Constitution, he's voting against everybody. Pick your amendment. Pick an issue. Let's, marriage equality, okay? Marriage equality. Should we have a marriage equality amendment in the Constitution? Well, you have your opinion, I have mine. Why should my opinion as a United States Senator be any more important than yours? But when they refuse to release the amendment to the states, that's exactly what they're saying. Pick any issue you want. There should be a balanced budget. When the Senate refuses to put that out to the states, they're saying our opinion is more important than yours. So there's nothing to be afraid of when an amendment gets floated to the state legislatures. Then more people get involved. More people get to look at it. Society gets to debate it. And then finally, there can be some closure on it. That's how we finally got rid of slavery. That's how we finally got prohibition removed. That's how we finally got term limits on the president. It's through the constitutional process.
Thank God.
Some amendments don't pass because people look at it and say, no, this is a bad idea. So my point is that when you want to make changes in government, you have to go with an entire toolkit. And some of them is direct advocacy on behalf of the taxpayers. The other is personal intense lobbying, intense deal-making and negotiation with other senators. And just consensus building. What Ted Cruz did for the government closure that Obama did, all Congress did was stop funding the government. The president barricaded the government. Big difference there. All Congress said is, look, we're not going to pay for non-essential services. The president went out and spent a lot of money actually harassing and inflicting pain on the population, saying that Congress told him to do it. Well, no, he had no authority to do that. He took that. And in fact, he implemented plans that he had in place a long time ago. All those signs that they put up, they had to be bid out, made available. All those barricades, where were they? And who pays the rent for the places where these barricades are stored? And who had the idea to buy all these? You see this? What we have going on here? Okay. So when the president did that, he took powers that really weren't his to take. And we kind of just took it. He inflicted pain on us. That's not his job. So yeah, you go in with that with a full suite of tricks. And when Ted Cruz stood up and did that, he got phone calls going into the Capitol. He actually motivated voters, taxpayers, citizens to call their elected officials and make them pay attention.
Yes.
That's what one voice can do. 2 voices, 3 voices, 6 voices. I'm not one voice, but I'm Jersey's voice. Another question? Yes.
Ted Cruz had a telephone survey last night, and I was home long enough to listen, and the calls came in about different questions to him. And the basis was because of Obama's State of the Union. That was the basis and all that. Before the conversation ended, the question went out to everybody, and it was a push-button answer. Pick 1 out of 4. What do you think would be the main thing that would be bothering you about the administration of the country? And 48% said abuse of presidential power.
Amen.
Over
everything else.
Maybe taxation over the
Right.
borders and all these other current issues. 48%.
That's an amazing number. I agree with you. One note on the, I could go on and on. I respect you for giving me this much time. About the State of the Union. Go read the transcript. Go read the transcript. When the leader of the free world tells our elected representatives, commands them from the floor of the United States Congress, when he commands them to, and I quote him, "It's time to listen to labor leaders?" No, it is never time to listen to anybody but the citizens of the United States of America. And he said, it's time to listen to the labor leaders and fix the immigration system. Now I get it. Now, because nobody can explain to me why I can't find any people that say, yeah, we really got to fix immigration. Because they're not saying anything. In fact, he read out, people we should listen to. Nowhere does he say it's time to listen to you or listen to what the people are asking you for. He never says that. He never challenges Congress to listen to your constituents. They're asking you for, then fill in the blank. He never says, go back to your communities. You'll hear the same things I hear. Your constituents are asking you to take action on. Why won't you do it? Because they're not. They're not asking for the same things the president is asking for. And he has no business telling the Congress to listen to anybody but the American people. And when he does, he's not acting in a very presidential manner. He's certainly not acting in the way that the founders had in mind. Thank you. Yes, sir.
With the Senate and the Congress,
Yes.
they're also responsible for what's going on in this country because they don't have the guts to stand up to the president.
That's correct. You're absolutely correct. That's why I want to get there. And you need to look at your candidates in your districts and make sure you send congressmen to Washington, D.C. that will stand up and represent the people. If they refuse to represent you, don't let them back. Find somebody. Get him on the ballot and get him to Washington, D.C. You can't expect 500 people a couple hundred miles away from here, all hanging out in a place that used to be a swamp, to know how to run 300 million people for posterity. It's ridiculous to expect that. And it's ridiculous for somebody to stand up and say, I think I should be one of them, because I can fix it all for posterity. The best thing you could do for posterity is secure for them the blessings of liberty. Because there's stuff posterity is going to see that we haven't even dreamed of yet. And to take away the money they need to do it, the freedom they need to act upon it, and the hope that they need to be inspired to do it. To rob them of that is criminal and abusive, and we should be ashamed. I'm sorry, yes, sir?
How do you feel about the Second Amendment?
I think the Second Amendment is pretty clear in what it says. It says that the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And infringement is pretty clear what infringement is. I think the founders knew what they were saying. Yes, I do. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
I know it's a personal question, but it's a necessary question.
Okay.
Financially, are you getting good backing, and will you be able to get yourself from here to?
Yeah. Well, okay. Yes.
Get to the primary.
I have access to the money, but it's kind of a chicken and egg thing. If people, basically the big money is waiting to see if the little money comes in. The little money comes from coming out to groups like this and saying, please, go to my website, send $20. Actually, before that even happens, they say, are you getting any, do you have any support? And so the way, because I'm not a rich man, but there are people who would like to see this message amplified, but they're not going to get behind somebody who doesn't show any support. So if you think I'm doing a good job tonight, tell your friends, sign my petition.
Oh, you have it?
I do. I have petitions. A couple things. I need people to sign my petition. If anybody actually wants to carry a petition for me, that would be sensational. But yeah, so yes, financially I have access to the funds. I know how to get it. I know where to go, but nobody's going to give money unless they see money coming.
And then also, like with Lonigan, he had to raise a lot of money, but he also had to have a lot of money behind him.
Right.
For people to say, well, we'll give you money, but do you have money to get yourself there? So it's like everybody wants to know.
Everybody wants to know.
You can't do it on nickels and dimes.
That's correct. And the opposite of that is that a lot of money doesn't necessarily mean you'll win. Look at John Corzine. And a lot of money doesn't necessarily be a good representative.
No,
with John
absolutely.
Corzine. Yes, sir.
Have you met with any of the Republican chairmen in any of the counties?
The chairman can't make, John Bennett, I'm really trying to respect the Republican Party and their system as I go through this process. Because I'm trying to be consistent in every corner of the state. Having said that, my chain of command has me going to my county chairman, who has said, I encourage your candidacy. We have an open primary process. You will be speaking at our convention, and I will do my job and communicate your candidacy to the other county chairman. So,
Where is that?
I'm in Monmouth County, right next door. So yeah, I'll take my convention in Monmouth County, and my chairman is John Bennett, and I ran against John Bennett once.
He's new though, isn't he?
He's chairman for a couple of years, yes.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, to talk, some inside baseball in the Republican Party. Yes, so I'm getting no resistance. What's very important is that I'm not receiving any resistance, and I'm trying to, inside the party, try and respect their procedures. Now, when I come to a group like this, I'm outside the party. I'm with people that are Republicans, Libertarians, Democrats, Independents, every type of voter registration is welcome in this room. Am I making a correct statement there? Okay. Is welcome in this room because we have one thing in common when we stand here.
We're all Americans.
We're all for freedom. Okay? What binds us? Okay? That's what we're all here for. And just because you're a Democrat doesn't mean that you're not for freedom. Doesn't mean that at all. Just because you're a Libertarian doesn't mean that you're not for freedom. Just because you're a Republican doesn't mean you're not for freedom. If you're for freedom, we need you.
We stated 4 years ago when we started this thing that the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, is concerned about the number of seats that they take in Washington.
Yes.
We're concerned about the quality of the person taking it.
Thank you.
Amen.
Well,
Amen.
Right.
believe that's something that we support to be a constitutionalist. Believe in the Constitution 100%.
Hallelujah.
Okay.
That's it.
Is there going to be a quiz at the end of this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pass it on.
Yes, sir.
One thing you mentioned that things aren't going right down in Washington.
Yes.
For instance, Obama is going around, he's passing different, he's given 70,000, I think it was 70,000 IRS people in.
He hired 16,000 new agents as part of Obamacare.
Okay,
It was
I'm wrong.
16,000.
16,000.
Yeah, he increased the size of the IRS by 16,000.
But anyway, they passed. I've got something today in the mail. It says if you get your 401k or IRA, you get the money, you have to pay taxes on it. Included 3.5% Medicare tax on it.
Yes.
Besides, when did that come in?
That, I think, was part of the Affordable Care Act. I'll tell you a funny story about the Affordable Care Act, by the way. No, I got to tell you this story. There's nothing funny about it? No. Okay, this is what's funny. When Joe Biden said the amendment is passed to the bill, that's what he really said. The bill wasn't passed, the amendment was passed. The Senate took a bill that I think was for veterans housing that had already been passed by the House of Representatives. It was a special subsidy to allow veterans to get housing or a tax benefit. House of Representatives said this is a great law. Goes over to the Senate, so it's waiting for the Senate. When Harry Reid took that bill, which had already passed the House of Representatives, took out all the language about veterans, including the name of the bill, pasted in all of the language of the Affordable Care Act, the most monumental piece of legislation ever passed by the Congress is an amendment to a housing bill. By doing that, it wasn't new legislation. Now it goes to the floor for a straight, okay, we've amended the bill, We, as the majority, have decided what the amendment should be. Here it is. We need a straight up and down vote on the amendment. Well, they had just enough numbers to pass the amendment. No filibuster, no more discussion, no changes to the amendment, none of that happened. And that's how they were able to actually get the Affordable Care Act passed. They took 2,000 pages of text, pasted it in a totally unrelated bill, got people to commit malpractice by voting for it, passing it, then it went to committee. The House of Representatives accepted the changes made by the Senate. Done, done, done. Welcome to Obamacare. And now you have all of your new tax. It's the gift that keeps on giving as far as people who want to complain about government. Because there's something bad coming out of this piece of legislation every single week. Any other questions? Yes, sir. I'm going to take two more.
Yeah,
Okay,
that'd be
thanks.
great, good.
Yes,
I
sir.
think you're going to make a good senator, but having said that, anybody, then Cory Booker would be good. So I think you'd be a good man.
Thank you.
But I'm interested in a question I have. How are you going to deal with these stupid people that vote, that are really stupid?
Absolutely, Bill.
It's like they have no clue of what's going, I know it's a tough question to answer.
Well, I come from the world of grassroots politics.
Yeah.
I have the record for most votes earned by a third-party candidate for United States Senate. I ran as a nobody, went north, south, east to west, got over 50,000 votes when I ran for United States Senate. And the way I did that was by getting people to do what I'm going to ask you to do. You can't fix stupid, but what you can do is motivate smart. You need to talk to your smart friends that are too lazy to vote and ask them to come out. That's what you do. Don't try and fix stupid. Never attempt to teach a pig to sing. It wastes your time and annoys the pig. Yes, sir. Last one.
I believe that you can't fix stupid. What you can do is you can depend on your stupidity and give them a loan and get someone on your side. And that would be a worthwhile effort because though some of them will believe the last thing they hear. So, but anyway, I believe I may have sent you an email. You got one from Patriots Americanus that sort of stuck out like a sore thumb.
Thank you. I'm going to make a statement. I'm going to make a question. The statement that I'm going to make is, was going to be a question, but since you're only taking one more question, I'll be a politician and put it differently. I don't believe that anybody is really going to be able to do what they say they're going to do, because I believe what happens is when you get down there, they say, come here, this is the way we play the game. And you either do that or you just get marginalized. That's what I think happens. I think that's why, it's my guess, that's why Running's not running again. Regardless of what he did, I think that's what it is. It just has to be, you cannot be effective against. So that leads to my question. You talked about you want to stay within the framework of the Republican Party. We stood here, and I sat there, and there were two other candidates here who were saying, well, I want to stay within the framework of the Republican Party at present. So I say to you, how do we, and I will tell you this, how do we take over the Republican Party? How do we outpopulate the local committees and get control of the local purse strings, and how do we do it on a state level? And I'm saying it should be done rather planned, rather quiet. People just all of a sudden get all enthusiastic for the United States, and they start attending committee meetings and become members of the Republican Party. And maybe few Patriots could do the same in the Democratic Party. Okay, you asked two
And
questions.
I think also that the next thing that has to be done is you absolutely have to fight by their rules, the rules for radicals that we've heard about in the world. I think that these are the
We watched
things
Ted Cruz do
unless you
that.
get realistic, it's all words. This be children. I'm not going to mock this. The children are the future. Wow. Apple pie, motherhood, and Chevrolet with the past. how do you know what the children are gonna do, and at the same time, their education is being so dumbed down, they don't even teach script in the school anymore, because the kids are using it.
Okay, you raised some, that wasn't a Senate question, so I'm gonna take another Senate question, but the answer to how you take over the committees is you
That's what we gotta do.
you get involved in your county committee. I mean, are there any county committeemen in the room? I'm sorry. Yeah, you need to find out if there's county committee openings. Do you know who your Republican town chairman is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any, does he take his phone
No.
calls?
So
Really?
It's all weird, we gotta outpopulate it.
Well,
See, so I mean, everything's in words.
that's true.
Unless we really get together and plan it on a.
Right.
Right?
Well, okay, that's a whole separate conversation,
It's
and I'm trying
a
very,
conversation that needs to be held to succeed.
in every town. It needs to be held in every town. And I encourage you to use whatever tools you have at your disposal to motivate your.
I got my tongue in my email, but, you know.
Well, no, then you call the other members of the town and county committee and talk to them. I mean, that's how politics
They don't
works.
listen, they don't wanna listen, that's the point.
I accept that.
Well, you know that the Republican
bosses
Party
and the
itself
handlers
is
tell them.
amongst itself. You have to be a part of it, you have to play the game,
Right.
you have to be a crony. You know, that's the reality of it. And it's the same thing on the Democratic side.
Right.
So I think what he's saying is, how do we infiltrate it? It's damn
It
near
takes time.
impossible.
It's taken me 20 years. It's taken me 20
And
years.
even if you become the alternate candidate on a Republican ticket.
Or the primary, I could. I'm trying to get the county line, my friend. I want the county line. I want to stand with the Ocean County chairman and make a case that I'm the best Republican to take on Cory Booker. And I can make that case. Because there's nobody better. There's nobody in the state that wants the job more. There's nobody in the state that wants the job more. There's nobody in the state that can do the job better. There's nobody in the state that can run a better, harder, more aggressive, more dynamic, more positive campaign than the man that stands before you tonight. And if I didn't believe that with every fiber of my being, I would be home playing Xbox with my son. Because that's a beautiful place to be. Thank you very much.